So you want to get smart, fast, huh? Well, you flagged TrackFormer for us, and it looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely a cool one.
Our sources are calling it a new approach to multi-object tracking, or MOT for short.
Right. And it uses that same transformer architecture that's been so huge for natural language processing.
But now it's being used for computer vision to track objects and videos.
Exactly.
So today, let's take a deep dive into TrackFormer.
Sounds good.
Let's try to really understand how it works, why it's such a big deal,
Yeah,
and maybe where it could be used.
definitely.
Okay, so first off, what exactly is TrackFormer?
So basically, it uses this transformer architecture to model the relationships between different objects in a video.
Interesting.
It looks at how those objects interact with each other and how those relationships change over time.
Okay, so instead of just identifying, oh, there's a car, there's a person in each frame,
Right.
TrackFormer is looking at how those cars and people relate to each other
Exactly.
and how those relationships evolve, like as the video plays.
Yeah, it's a really big shift from how object tracking has traditionally been done.
So how does it actually work? What are the main steps involved?
Well, like most MOT systems, it starts by detecting the objects in each frame of the video.
Okay, standard so far.
Then it extracts what we call features of those objects.
Features, okay.
Things like the object's shape, its color, how it's moving,
Gotcha.
and then all those features get fed into the transformer network.
So the features go in, the transformer does its thing.
Right.
What happens next? Like, what's the secret sauce here?
Well, the key to the transformer is something called the attention mechanism.
Attention, huh?
Yeah, basically, it allows the system to figure out how important different objects and their features are in relation to each other. It's like the system's asking, okay, which of these objects is most likely the same one I saw in the previous frame, even if it looks different now or if it's moved behind something.
Makes sense.
And then based on all these relationships and how important they are, the system makes associations and builds a track for each individual object.
So by understanding these connections and like prioritizing different objects,
Right.
it can keep tracking things even when the video gets messy
Exactly.
or if something disappears for a second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads to some pretty big advantages.
Yeah. Our sources highlighted a few.
Yeah, TrackFormer is more accurate. It's more robust, so it can handle tough situations, like when objects are partially hidden.
Or when they're moving really fast.
Exactly.
And the transformer architecture itself is very flexible.
Right. It can be adapted for all sorts of different tracking tasks.
So where would this kind of improved tracking really make a difference?
Are tons of places.
Like where?
Okay, well, think about self-driving cars.
Okay.
For them to be safe, they have to accurately track everything around them.
Pedestrians, other cars, obstacles.
Exactly. TrackFormer could really improve their perception capabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else?
Well, surveillance systems would benefit a lot, too.
Okay.
Being able to reliably track people or vehicles over long periods of time, that would be huge for them.
And what about applications beyond just transportation and security?
Oh, yeah, definitely robotics is another big area.
I can see that.
Robots need a really good understanding of the objects in their environment.
And how those objects are moving.
Right, for them to be able to move around and interact with things
Yeah.
effectively.
Makes sense. What else?
Also think about sports analysis.
Okay.
Accurately track players and the ball.
Uh-huh.
That can give you all sorts of new insights into team dynamics and performance.
Yeah, you could really see how TrackFormer would be useful there.
Definitely.
Okay, so it sounds like TrackFormer's ability to model these complex relationships really improves how computers understand moving objects in videos.
It's a really smart application of a powerful architecture.
And it moves beyond just identifying objects
Exactly.
to actually understanding how those objects interact with each other over time.
Yeah, that's the really cool part.
So to wrap things up, here's a thought for you, the listener. Think about how TrackFormer analyzes these relationships in video. What other fields out there that might seem totally unrelated?
Yeah.
What other fields could benefit from a similar approach? Using transformer networks to understand those dynamic relationships between different entities.
It's a really interesting question to think about.
It really is a lot of possibilities out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into TrackFormer.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.